Alright, this is video number 6.0. I am back in Washington, D.C. You can see there's the National Mall there. Right beyond this building is the Capitol. And near Justice Alley, there's David's tent up there that I'm walking towards right now. And I want to discuss a little bit about the Paul Manafort case that's coming out today. A lot of different information has come out. This is the second day of his trial, and I want to be clear that I am still working regarding the drugs and weapons trade and all that, along with the child trafficking, because they are intertwined, and I will get into that more and more as I go along. But they are literally intertwined, the same players involved in all this. But in Mr. Manafort's case, today the judge admonished the special counsel Mueller's team for using the term oligarch. Now, oligarch is a term that's used usually by American politicians, saying that someone is corrupt, stealing money from the people, a politician, billionaires. They use it a lot about Russian figures and different characters like that. And it was used in the courthouse by special counsel Mueller's team against Paul Manafort, talking about him and his oligarch friends. And the attorney, Judge Sullivan, admonished them, and they stated they were not allowed to use that term anymore. It was, derogatory and prejudicial. And he also made the statement that he would consider George Soros or the Koch brothers closer to oligarchs than Mr. Manafort's Ukrainian friends. So, at the same time, another report came out today that shows that this whole case that's being tried right now was already investigated by none other than Rod Rosenstein years ago, and Paul Manafort was cleared. And there is a huge case, and it was released online, and it involves some of the same characters and same people we've been talking about. Firtash and Nadra Bank, that was started in 2011, and that bank was started after there was a Ukrainian coup. Now, they don't want to talk about that here in the United States, that Hillary Clinton and the State Department and some of our people initiated a coup in Ukraine to install their puppet, but that's what happened. And during that process, the main bank in Ukraine, went down, and a lot of the money was fed into this bank called Nadra Bank. That bank is connected to Natalia Sova, who is, of course, allegedly married to Abid Awan. That's how this is all connected. So this all is coming back up again, and the questions that are being asked is, Mr. Rosenstein, if you investigated this and found no reason to charge Mr. Manafort years ago, why are you now trying him on the same case? And what I stated was, I, as a defense counsel, would have Rod Rosenstein as witness number one to cross-examine and to question regarding this. And that's going to be a very difficult position for the assistant attorney general, who's in charge of the Russia case that developed into this Manafort case, a case he investigated as a U.S. attorney years ago, and did not charge Mr. Manafort over. Now they are charging him over that same case, and Mr. Rosenstein would be witness number one. So I would already have him. I'm sure he's already on the list to go. Secondly, they say that they rolled. It was called being rolled in, like, kind of cop lingo, or turned or flipped or whatever you want to say. They rolled Rick Gates, another guy that they arrested, to turn against Paul Manafort, who was his boss and his aide. And now they're talking about, and the special counsel team is talking about not even having Rick Gates testify in court against the guy he allegedly rolled on and gave all this evidence up on to indict Mr. Manafort. Why would they not want to do that? What would be the reason for that? Well, usually the reason is they don't want him cross-examined. They don't want Manafort's legal team to get a hold of him on the stand and cross-examine him. So they it looks like, are planning to keep him off the stand, which makes it very difficult when he is literally an eyewitness, a first-hand witness, and should be considered the best witness for the prosecution team, that they would not use him. And it really does not look good for your case. And even the judge made comments today about something to the effect of, it looks like all your witnesses are dropping like flies, or something to that effect, to the Mueller special counsel. So I thought that was very interesting. The FBI also attempted to enter pictures of Manafort's closet into evidence today that was full of expensive suits, obviously, things like that. He has a lot of money, that's no doubt about that. And they were again admonished by Judge Sullivan that having expensive suits does not make a crime. It's not evidence, and it cannot be entered into evidence. So, you have the judge making these statements, admonishing the Mueller team, who he has admonished before, about where this whole thing is going. And, when he's making statements like he can't use the term oligarch, and, he would consider George Soros and the Koch brothers more oligarchs than Paul Manafort's Ukrainian friends. I don't think that looks very good for the Mueller special counsel. I'm not there in the jury box, but I just don't think that looks very good. And then maybe your star witness, your star pupil, the guy that you rolled, the guy that gave you all the information that led to an indictment, that led to a raid on Manafort's house at 6 o'clock in the morning for white-collar crimes, which is not the norm. He might not go on the stand now. And you have to wonder to yourself, why would that be? And like I said, most of the reason they don't do that is because they don't want him to face cross-examination. They don't want him to be questioned by the defense. And so they'll try to keep him off the stand. You're basically keeping the number one guy off the stand, like I said. So anyway, I just wanted to give an update on that. Like I said, the report was released today of the investigation that Rod Rosenstein did against Mr. Manafort years ago over the same stuff, and did not charge him. And that is online. It's on Twitter, and I'll attach it here as well. The same names are in there that we've been talking about for a long time. Firtash, Nadra Bank, same kind of stuff. And what a lot of people don't realize is the Ukrainian coup that occurred under Hillary Clinton in the State Department. There were a lot of deals that were made once they put their puppet in charge, including oil rights and things like that, that there's a lot of senators that got some deals and got put on some boards of some companies that, pocketed a lot of money, and maybe some friends and families or sons and things like that we'll get into later that pocketed a lot of money. So, this is turning out to be really, really interesting as this plays out. And Paul Manafort, refuses to obviously take a knee, and is letting the trial go forward. So more and more information is going to come out. As this continues, Rod Rosenstein will be on the stand, and he will be cross-examined about all this stuff. So it's going to get, start popping the popcorn right now, I'm telling you, because it's going to be quite a show to watch. So, I wanted to just check in on that and say I did make it back to DC, and also include the part that there is a direct connections with the drugs for weapons and the child trafficking, not only because of blackmail, but just the trafficking in general. There's direct connections between all of these players. Ukraine is a hotbed of trafficking, and especially since the coup, since 2011, and HRC got her little hands in there to mix things up, and George Soros as well. It has become a hotbed, and now you can look up online, and I've shared this before. There is these major neonatal intensive care units there in Ukraine that were developed And the Clinton Foundation is a part of that. And I believe they're called Cradles of Hope or something to that effect. There are pictures out there actually of Chelsea Clinton standing there in Ukraine next to these neonatal units with these little tiny babies. And so the question, that has been asked is, why in a country like Ukraine, after this coup or whatever it was happened and the skirmish and the fighting that's going on, why all of a sudden do all these neonatal clinics pop up for preemie babies? What's going on with that? Why all of a sudden are babies in Ukraine being born way too early? What's going on with that? What's happening to all the adoptions out of Ukraine? What's happening to the surrogacy rules in Ukraine? And you guys can research all this. What are the rules of surrogacy? Who is adopting children out of Ukraine? Who could be making money out of that? Who are the surrogates that are carrying these children? Are these poor Ukrainian women that need money because their country has been, gone into war in some aspects, at least in some parts? So why is the Clinton Foundation there? Why is Victor, I think it's Pachenka, I believe is his name, why is he involved? What is his foundation about? What does it have to do with children? So the Ukraine situation, the weapons, the drugs, the Paul Manafort, he was a lobbyist for pro-Russian government officials for Ukraine. So was Tony Podesta. He was a lobbyist, part of a Russian bank. Why isn't he being charged? Where is all of the money that he made off of this Ukrainian disaster? So I think those are a lot of the questions that everyone's looking at, and it's all going to be tied together. And the child trafficking, the organ harvesting, the drugs, the weapons, the oil deals, the money missing out of the bank, the NADRA program, which actually became a program in Pakistan. It's their surveillance state program, where they literally have a surveillance state or are trying to implement that, and it's called NADRA. And Natalia Silva, who is what we're told Abid Awan or Omar Awan's wife, is directly connected to NADRA Bank out of Ukraine. So you can see these kind of spider webs all coming together, and there is a connection. I know it's hard to follow some of it, so I'm just giving short information, but for those of you that like to research and are very interested in the child trafficking aspects, look into Ukraine, research the Victor, I think it's Pachenko, look into his foundation, look into the Clinton Foundation, what they do in Ukraine, look into the neonatal intensive care units, Cradles of Hope, I think it's called, or something to that effect. Look into the pictures of Chelsea Clinton in the hospital. Research the stories of surrogacy, possibly forced surrogacy. Research the adoption agencies that are part of Ukraine. Research who's adopting, who and what countries are adopting out of Ukraine. All of that stuff will be most helpful. So I just wanted to give a short video on that and say, I'm still involved in that part of it as well, because it's all intertwined and we have to. So here I am in DC. I know a lot of it's confusing, it's hard to follow, but the people that watch this channel are really interested in the child trafficking aspect, and I want to bring in the Ukraine part because it is a big part of that story, along with the drugs and the weapons and all the stuff the other stuff that's going on. So do some research, hit me up with some questions or comments, and I'll do my best to fill them in. I don't know all the details, obviously, but I know enough about what's going on there, and it's a real problem, and it's part of this whole evil mess that we are in. So I'll be checking out for now. There's David's tent across there, and I'll check back in later.